Om Shanti. We'll just spend a minute in silence and then start. So, welcome all of you once again to the Values for Life workshop's first anniversary. And it's indeed amazing that all of you are here with us. We have our esteemed guest speakers, our esteemed host as well. And I'm joining with you all today from the Gyan Sarovar campus to give you a reminder of the Yoga Bhatti here which we are doing. So it's amazing that the technology of Zoom has reached every nook and corner of the room, as Brother Eric likes to say that. It has indeed made in the world a lot of boom. And through these values workshops, we can make our life bloom. So welcome all of you once again. I'm sure you all have attended these. Today is the 4th December. It's exactly 1 year from now that we started these workshops. And the concept of this, we were inspired by, again, I must say, the Divine Being, the Supreme Being, because we used to have a talk of the senior, but after that, what to do next? So we felt that let us take it in the form of a workshop. And initially we started with just the workshop of 1 hour where we used to do experiential exercises, little bit of reflection, meditation, etc. But then later, after the first 2 workshops, we realized we should also have a few other speakers as well, dynamic, vibrant speakers. So then we started with all of you all. We have our esteemed speakers today. So before I go to Brother Eric, I'll just start with the 3 speakers. I'll introduce all of them in the form of a small poem, as I do always. So we'll start with Sister Gayatri. She's full of power and might and serves through her divine insight, taking us away from the fear and the fright, and taking all of us indeed to the united nation in this Ruhani flight, thereby reminding all of us our God-fatherly birthright and teaching us everything that is right. So welcome Sister Gayatri, all the way from United States of America. Then we move on in our Ruhani flight. We go from US, we come to UK. Though Sister Gopi is from UK, but right now she's in India, in Madhuban. So carrying with her the divine light, she indeed shows us the path which is very bright, which takes us away from this dark night and sets things for us perfect and all right, and leaving no margin for us to fight. So from Madhuban, Gyan Sarovar, and wherever she is from in Madhuban, now we again take the Ruhani flight and go to Turkey, all the way to Brother Yogesh. He's joining us from Turkey. He is the Supreme's choice, simple and sample. He sets for all of us this unique example. He tells us to invest in this Ruhani gamble, to walk on this spiritual path as a ramble, because now in life we have time for us which is ample. And so welcome Brother Yogesh and Sister Gopi as well. And finally our flight is now moving from Europe, Turkey, all the way to Montreal, Canada. So we have with us our very sweet Brother Eric. As a person, Brother is indeed very, very royal and quiet. His natural humor makes the atmosphere so light. Nevertheless, he exudes all around the divine might and carries all his talks with the spiritual sight. And lastly, he has this wonderful shine and sparkle and is indeed for all of us God's marvel. And I'll just take a last minute. All of them have indeed taken out their precious time to teach us in life how to rhyme and ring the bells of life as a chime to wash away all the dirt and the grime. So let's try to ring the bell as a chime, wash away all the dirt and the grime with a powerful soap made up of spiritual lime to give that extra sparkle and shine, to make all of us feel super fine, filling all our aprons with the treasures of the mine. And now we stop doing in life me and mine, filling the treasures from the mine and stop doing me and mine, and are indeed ready today with the Supreme to dine. So with this, I would like to just share the screen. Thank you. I hope I can show you all. I think I'll just, you're aware of Zoom because it's there in every room now. So let me just tell you the few housekeeping instructions. We have almost 7 languages. You can click on the interpretation icon and choose the language which you want to. And over with this, I think I would now pass it on to Brother Eric. Over to you, Brother Eric. Thank you.
Hey, dear Manoj, Bai, and everyone. I think I'm becoming more and more French every time we meet. I don't know if that's my influence, but your poetry is wrapping our minds in a beautiful way that feels comfortable. And to introduce our very dear friends, I was also in a poetic mode, and I felt that there was a very deep secret in our names. And I remember interviewing Gayatri in Peace Village on the initial days of Peace Village. And she said, the way you name something is very relevant. So look at our names. You have someone who is in deep silence. You always wonder if his picture is frozen, but he's so still, so quiet that he's that yogic silence, Yogesh, emanating that quiet vibration of yoga. And when yoga happens, then suddenly the one who just disappeared right now starts to dance, and the gopi emerges. You can leave them all on. We're going to be in the cafe mode chit-chat, all the 4 of us, for a little while. So with the yoga power, then you feel the dance happens, and the gopi start to dance because they feel the magic of silence, and the gopi will appear on the screen. But then you hear the hymns, the songs coming out, the Gayatri voice, the Gayatri mantra rumble in our hearts like drums, and suddenly the world is becoming light and bright, and there's some festivity, and the orchestra of love was born that way. So it started with yoga, and the dance, they say that God created the universe by dancing, and the stars were born because they felt he's danced. Nataraj Dan was so beautiful. The galaxies were born. And then we heard the sound of his heart in the Gayatri mantra. So you see, Manoj Bhai, you inspired us in a poetic way to come together. And we're going to spend the next hour, the 4 of us, and I'll try not to be too familiar with you all because we know each other. But most importantly, we have highest regard and respect for each other. And today's, what I thought we could do is to offer to the viewers, but also to the magic of this, space world, whatever we call the internet, when we can watch it later, a gift. Christmas is coming. And I feel that sometimes the gift we need is to rediscover the self and give ourselves the gift of values. So the approach will be very simple. For 1 year, there has been intensive lectures on different values. And every week, every time or so, there was a workshop trying to implement that virtue in our life. And I thought we could have a little chit-chat, the 4 of us, with a very simple question. Why is it that knowing now so well the importance of values, wanting so much to have them in our lives, why are we still what we call in our jargon number wise? Why are we not still 100% loving, caring, generous, patient? Why these values not yet 100% in us? Before we move on, I wanted to make sure, do you all have something nice to drink? Are we ready for a little cafe style? I brought my cup that Gayatri likes a lot. So Yogesh in his little cave of yoga has a glass of water. And Gopi, you have something to drink? You told us we were going to have something. Gayatri, what are you drinking? You have to all turn on your mic.
I'm drinking coffee. Illy.
Nice. This is the this commercial break now. Oh, Gopi, you got a yogi coffee, something. What is in there? Air? Turn on your mic. It's a water.
Hot water in cold weather.
Hot water. I have turmeric and ginger herb tea. Very fancy. And Yogesh? Holy water from the Himalayas?
Yes, I also have hot water. Yeah.
And Yogesh, I knew you weren't going to bring coffee or tea. You were going to end up being the yogi and you're going to drink water. So here's to you.
Turkish tea.
Turkish tea.
Çaykur. Çok teşekkürler.
So we're bringing this to all the viewers so that everyone at home, wherever you are, look at what's on your hands. Do you have a cup and something to drink? We're going to have a chit-chat coffee table style with everyone. So although we see just the four of us on the screen, I know there's over 100 people watching at the moment. And I hope you all feel that you're really around a big coffee table with the four of us. So I was thinking that maybe, Gayatri, you can start by sharing some of your thoughts on why is it that there is a gap between knowing so well a value and becoming the image of that value or the embodiment. Why do you think there's still a gap?
I think a gap exists because we have forgotten. And it is not that we have to actually become 100% virtuous. We are 100% virtuous, but we've forgotten it. And so the illusion is not in the actual number, number-wise, but the illusion is the perception that values come from the outside and they are not intrinsic in the soul. So I think that if I were to reaffirm the faith in values, and I have a distinction between virtues and values, but I don't think you want me to go there. But if we have that faith, if we reaffirm that faith that we are by nature, we are intrinsically virtuous, then we will start off with 100% being that virtue. And then what we have to do, the effort we have to do is to remember that. That's all. And each time I remember it, I reaffirm the faith that I am the source of the value, I am that value, and that value or virtue is intrinsic in me.
All right, well, let's hear from Yogesh and Gopi. How this thought triggers other thoughts in your mind, and what do you feel about it? Let's start with maybe Yogesh Bhai.
Yeah, I agree very much with Sister Gayatri. I do think it takes time to reconnect with and re-emerge those virtues or values, as we're calling them. So I think we do need to be patient with ourselves. And I feel that I do see progress in my friends, my colleagues, my co-spiritual students, and also in myself as well. So I think the gap is reducing in terms of, if we're talking about 100%. And the big word, I feel, is awareness. Yeah, the more I'm aware of who I am and my original divinity, the more those values do come out into my life and my practical life situations. So in that sense, it's just a question of paying attention and coming back to the basics. And I find no matter what I may be working on, but it always comes back to this question that, who am I? Who do I consider myself to be at this very moment? And according to how I'm answering that question is what comes out of me. So attention on my awareness, I think that's the key.
Gopi, any additional thoughts?
Yeah, probably following on from that, one of the things I've become acutely aware of, especially in the last few weeks, is this very subtle dimension of giving. It's almost like looking at that part of yourself that is held in God's vision and giving that regard. Because I feel that in the early morning hours, Baba's vision, God's vision, it's such a soft feeling, and it's a feeling of respect, regard from Baba. And I feel very deeply like just being able to hold that in my awareness throughout the day is helping at so many different levels to keep the virtues activated, to keep the feeling of virtues alive, be it patience, be it tolerance, be it love. And I feel this midpoint of having regard for the self is the turning point to begin to create that bridge from the internal richness and the resources I have into an external expression that helps something to be uplifted. And it's a very subtle thing, and it needs attention throughout the day. But the more that regard for the self has been there, the easier the inside out journey has become.
So I think three of you are very inspiring, and I think I understand what you're saying. But I'm going to play, Maya's advocate, because Maya being, the twisted mind that either is too French to totally accept whatever you're saying, or too practical to wonder, but yeah, what am I doing with this? So I'll give you an example. If I apply this to my tennis game, I go on a tennis court and you tell me, well, just be aware that all your skills are already there. So should I visualize myself as a Roger Federer, which is the icon of tennis in the world at the moment, and think it's already in me? But who tells me that my intrinsic values or virtues will go through the little distinction you're making, Gayatri, or you could make for us? But what tells me that maybe the deep intrinsic values in me are really much smaller than this big Federer? So how do I know how much I have in me that can bloom and become what my understanding or practice can project? Do you understand what I mean? Like, I can sit down in meditation and say, yes, all the virtues are in me, but maybe they're not, because we're not the same, and not everyone will be Federer. Gayatri, I feel that you are not watching tennis every day, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, because you sent me a book to read on the subtle dynamics of tennis and the competition between Federer and what was his opponent?
Nadal.
Nadal.
Or Djokovic, Nadal.
Yeah. And what were the subtle distinctions that I came away after reading the book? And I did read the book. And perhaps you shouldn't have sent me that book if you were going to ask me that question, because what I took away was tennis is not a physical skill. Tennis was all about the way the person saw themselves.
Mm.
And Federer and Nadal both saw themselves as winners. And so what was intrinsic there, to me, what was beautiful about the book, they didn't encounter each other as enemies. Neither did they encounter each other with competitive natures or skills. But the way they compete, where they were both winners. And, you know, the famous saying, winner takes it all, which means there was going to be one that was going to excel on that particular day in that final round of tennis. And the whole world was watching. So they both had the skills. They both knew the court. They both knew the whole world was watching them. But it was something intrinsic that made the difference, that was bigger than the physical skills. That was even bigger than the whole world watching them. That was bigger than the collective energy, as they would say, of all the audience, of the spectators watching them. And when that got activated, the winner takes it all. And in any match, rarely is there a tie in tennis. Something happens that 0.09% of one hits it. And I think it is something that comes from that I am more than just this racket. I am more than just a ball. I'm more than just a net. I'm more than just, you know, the ground on which I play. There is something spiritual inside of me that will give me the oomph to win it. And so for me, that's the game of tennis. And that's why it's so beautiful, because the winner, something subtle activates in them that causes them to win. And that would be my answer to you. Sorry, Eric, you shouldn't have sent that book.
No, I'm very glad I sent it to you, and I'm actually very glad you read it. I know Yogesh and Gopi probably don't know which book we're talking about, but Yogesh knows games. And what do you make of it, Yogesh? And how do we translate that into our day-to-day practice, you know, not of tennis, but of life itself?
Firstly, I think, sorry, Eric, but I think Novak is number one. Rogers in the past.
Manoj Bhai, we need one more hour. We need to debate this. Take an hour. This is going to take an hour. It's like arguing if Shankar, Narayan, or Brahma is the one better than the other. This is going to be very difficult. You have Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer. This is Brahma, Vishnu, Shankar.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great metaphor. I also used to play a lot of tennis. So I know that you're actually playing against yourself, not against the other person. And I like the phrase, it's not that I will believe it when I see it, but I'll see it when I believe it. I think that's where it all starts. And so it's a question of then applying that into life and then seeing the results which come. So whether it's in tennis or it's taking the penalty in the shootout in football, or it's making some kind of sales presentation, but important to, as I say, rehearse it in your mind, believe it, see it happening, and then you can reproduce it in practical life. So I think also for us, in terms of applying these virtues and values in our practical lives, where I feel I'm lacking something, maybe patience, maybe courage, maybe tolerance, let me believe I have it and also visualize myself using that in practical life situations. And I think that is the watering which helps the flower to blossom. And it's not as though there's any competition with any other person, but each one of us is an individual, different flower, a unique flower. And I just have to do the best to make the best me emerge from me, which was one of my big turning points. There is a best me inside of me. and I have to water that to bring it out. So it's between me and me at the end of the day, and people and situations are just there as part of the drama for me to learn from. So I feel to make that practical, it's a question of reminding myself, and again living in that awareness, using every situation to feed me, to emerge the best inside of me.
Nice. I'll still send you the book maybe that I sent to Gayatri so you can enjoy. And I remind you, three of you, that at the end, after we have this chit chat, the proposal I have for you is to each one of you to propose a very practical exercise to do exactly what you're talking about, Yogeshbhai, when we say there's a best me in me that I want to emerge. Everyone that we can get that. I think what we all want to know is, well, what do I do? How do I do it? I do it myself on a tennis court sometimes, but how do I do it at work, with my logic family, my physical family, my friends? So Gopi, I don't know if you're a tennis player or you may be watching or having any clue what we're talking about, but what do you make out of this inner game that, we want to be real? Like, how do we, bring that best self out there so it really shows itself?
I love watching tennis, and we could start an argument because I'm all for Federer here, but I'm just going to talk to you from my experience of being on the ground. You know how sometimes when you're in a tennis court and you have this machine that's throwing out all these balls at you, and then you're trying to keep up with the whacking of the ball? That's been the experience a little bit in Madhuban. Kind of coordinating a multi-layered project on all three campuses with different heads of department, in going through a crisis mode, has had like lots of curveballs being coming at me, from this is never going to work curveball to the curveball of like, oh, well, forget it. The ball drops, lops and goes, it's not going to be possible, like a disheartenment lob. And in the middle of all of that, I have had to go somewhere very different in myself. And when you first asked the question, the immediate thought that came to my mind was the creation of mental stability in any moment in time. That's probably the place where the conscious mind is the gatekeeper to the complete self, every resource inside me. And when I've experienced mental stability in that moment, and especially gone into silence, the experience I've had is I've tuned into something that's almost like nischit. That's the Hindi word, which is like fixed, or something that I know is real and tangible. And when I see that and feel that in silence, it's like my whole system just refocuses. The curveballs don't matter because I know exactly what I have to do. And that sheer focus of knowing exactly what I have to do just starts opening a pathway of being able to, make the impossible possible. But the key for me is that no matter what balls come at me, mental stability and dropping into very deep silence and just getting into that place of just knowing I can see the destination. And once I've seen it, my whole system relaxes and organizes itself. And sometimes that takes time because people come to you. Behind the ball is an energy, someone's stuff. And if I haven't taken care of my own foundation of meditation and focus, then you get hit by the ball. But that's been a big key for me, is mental stability and cultivating that very powerfully, and knowing that the conscious mind is the gatekeeper for everything.
So I don't know if either I'm having too much turmeric or too much ginger in this herb tea, but I'm missing one thing that I don't know, maybe I'm not getting something out of this, is what should we aim for when thinking about emerging this best me? Or I still feel it's a little bit, for me, how to call it, blurry, or it's intangible. I can play with this idea that I have a best me that has to come out, But don't we have to be very specific about the goal and what we're aiming for? And I'm coming back to this thing that, we all are going to, we've seen each other growing, right? In the last, 30 years, all of us. And so you have gray hair, with dark hair generations here. So Gayatri and I saw you both, Yogesh and Gopi, when you were a little bit smaller and, big buds. And we've seen you blooming. You probably thought we're old, Gayatri and I, from the day you saw us. And we, still feel like we're a little bit older. So we've known we're growing up. Not everybody makes it. You're still blooming. You're still, exhaling these kind of virtues and values. But some people don't grow. And some spiritual people will probably leave their body. And after all their silence and meditation, will still not be really the Roger Federer of spirituality, nor even the Djokovic, which is much lower than Federer, of course. So my point is, what should we aim for? Is it just a generic, no brand, no label aim that is just like best of me and, my inner intrinsic perfect self is going to come out? Or do we have to be specific in visualizing how is love going to be revealed in me? Do I need to know that and see it? Or do I just pour water and wait for love to come out? I'm not sure if I'm making sense, but
I do understand what you're saying, Eric. And I kind of feel like, I remember many years ago, I was taking leave from Daddy, Janki in Madhuban. And as I was taking leave, she said, make your complete stage your best friend. I had no idea what that meant at that point in time. But I like the idea of friendship. And I like the idea of being friends with that part of myself that's elevated, that I feel. And I remember early on in my Brahmin life, having a moment when I experienced Vishnu blossom inside me. It was like such a powerful experience. And I'm sure that at some point in our lives, in our spiritual lives, we've all had an experience of divinity, that kind of elevated experience of our elevated selves. And that blueprint is inside already. And yet, I suppose, building a friendship with that, having regard for that, giving space in my day-to-day life to listen, tune into that is probably the practice, because the places that I fail is when my reactive button is hit. I've got an Achilles heel and I find myself reacting, and then it's almost like I feel like I've let that friend down. They're so peaceful, they're so loving, they're so calm, and here I am going, and I've let that friend down. And I felt that when I've dealt with it like a friendship, it's been easier. It's not like a polarized, like I am here and I have to get there, but we're actually walking this path together. This friend is accompanying me. Can I give it some space?
Gayatri or Yogesh, any thoughts to help me?
I think, Eric, you asked your question and you answered it yourself. And I don't know if it's because you're French.
Maybe.
And
or
all the
turmeric.
French, they have that romantic, trait in them. And you use the word love. What we're looking for is love. What we want to experience is love. And so when the world, however, is personality driven. People are just looking for someone to put on a pedestal. And then they hold that person on the pedestal so that the person could become everything they ever want to be in life. And it's all right for them to live with that I will put someone on a pedestal and this person will show me, reflect back to me everything I would ever want to be. And if I die after that, it would be a life worth living. So if I were to look at that, and I would see everyone feels exactly what Yogesh talked about. There's a best of something inside of me, am, but if I'm too lazy, or if I am the victim of my circumstances and situations, or if I've been conditioned to believe I cannot be the best in any way, no matter what the reasons are, to remove me, the illusions I call them, to remove me from there is a best living in me, then I will never aspire to it, because I would always be looking for something tangible, for something external to me, to give me the assurance that it exists, even though I don't have it. Another thing that Yogesh said that I think is interesting is we always hear in the world, if you see, your seeing is believing. But how about if we turn that around and say, believe before you see? So believing is seeing. Seeing is believing, but believing is also seeing. It's insight. And so I feel that for me, and it is shown in all the people who excel, in which they somehow, after all is said and done, after all the effort that is made, there needs to be a point in which they reaffirm that something best inside of them. And in reaffirming that, it comes forth, and it gives them that little oomph to be the best. And so I feel that when the UN says, why do the BKs affiliate to the UN? Because within the UN Charter, why does the UN exist? In the preamble, it states very clearly to reaffirm faith in the dignity and worth of the human being. If that dignity and worth isn't reaffirmed by the human being, him or herself, invariably, they would always see the best to be outside of them. And I think that it is something that we cannot compare to another. Like you said, how do some people grow, some people don't grow? That's not true. Life is a growing path. Life by nature is growth. Now, in what direction we're growing, that is a different matter. However, that does not mean that there isn't a best in that person. And one day that person will remember it. That's why for me, this word smriti means both awareness and remembrance. But I choose the word remembrance when I use smriti, because smriti in its Sanskrit meaning literally says to recall a memory. So I have to recall a memory before it can come into my awareness. A memory recalled, that's the translation of it. And so for me, it does, whatever that best is exclusive to me, is unique to me. And I have to reaffirm the faith in the dignity and worth in that spark that's within me that no one else has in quite the same way. Now, this is what Baba tries every day. He doesn't even try, he does it every day with us, but we're still caught up in the illusions of everything that we judge ourselves by and we judge others by. And finally, I want to say that this thing of believing before I could see, that I think what distinguishes masterpieces from mediocre. And that is the masterpiece will see the other as a masterpiece. If the masterpiece sees the other as anything lower than a masterpiece, he would lose. And he wouldn't come out shining in the eyes of God. And so I think if the masterpiece sees the other as a masterpiece, then somehow maybe he gets that help of God, because he would have done it right. And the fortune would have been awoken in him or her at a very deep level. So I think we can't just set aside the subtleties of what we're talking about here and just put it within a secular frame of how success is measured and how masters are seen.
You see, that's why we invited you, Gayatri. Whenever you get a little bit passionate, your words start to really get into me like water in the coffee grinds. And I can really feel, oh, God, something is getting into me. I'm getting it, I feel it. Yeah, that's how we do coffee, right? Water in the coffee grinds and it starts to make coffee. So thank you. Yeah, really. Okay, I see your point. Did you get it, Yogesh? Is it you agree with that, or what do you make of it?
Yeah,
I don't know. We need to provoke Gayatri a little bit, and that comes out like straight from the UN,
Yeah, maybe I can just add, in the people I've seen over the years, and you have seen them as well, I would identify two main virtues or values, which I think are unquestionably a sign that somebody has really grown or progressed or developed. One, as was mentioned already, is the capacity to love. This is a great, great thing. Like, a person's heart becomes bigger, and I see them being able to share love with all friends and with strangers, with those who are complimentary and those who are critical. So the capacity to love indicates someone has done a lot of work on themselves. And second thing I would say is a very deep humility. So when I would see individuals displaying these two particular values, I would really be inspired. And I'd think, I really have something to learn from this person, because they've done a lot of work on themselves to reach that point. And then how did they get there? So I do feel that, especially when we are in a spiritual practice, there are lessons all around for us at every moment. But only those who are open to seeing those lessons, whose third eye is open as such, they take the opportunity to learn and to grow. And when the third eye is closed, or my level of awareness is low, then I don't see the lesson. And instead, a person may get caught up in a scene of the drama, which we call as a side scene, or in some kind of conflict. So I believe that a person who has a spiritual approach to life has the opportunity to grow and to evolve at every moment. But then it's a question really of my perception of situations. And in terms of imagery, you were mentioning what should we be keeping as an aim? I do think, in our practice too, different people are inspired by different forms of imagery. For some, it may be the image of Vishnu / Lakshmi Narayan. For some, it may be the concept of the angel. For others, it may be other forms of images. And I think it's useful to, sorry, Federer.
Roger
Yeah.
Federer. Much better.
Yeah. So, I do think also it's important for each one to look into their own heart and see what inspires me individually. And it could even be something from nature. And we know that in our study in the Muralis, it's full of metaphors. And also Baba uses different kinds of different images of nature and even animals to bring a message across to us about how values can be applied in life. So to take some time to look into the heart and to find what personally inspires me to move towards that best me, I think what makes it real for me, and then remembering that kind of imagery in my daily life.
We're going to move into an experiential moment, but before, I wanted to snap a little tricky question that you can answer only in 1 minute, each one of you. Is our personality in the way? Is personality sometimes an obstacle in blossoming beyond what we are today? Who wants to go first? Doesn't need to think about it before packaging it in 1 minute. Gopi? Tick, 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 tick. Have a
Maybe
good drink.
personality is the way.
See.
I've appreciated God's personality a lot, and appreciated the personalities of the different daddies I've been in contact with. And for me, that is the way. But it's about where I'm seated in relation to it.
Yogesh Bhai?
I wouldn't say in the way, but I would say the personality I have is being divinized and is going to carry me to my full destination. So it's my friend. I created it, I used it, and now it's time for me to divinize it and for that boat to carry me to where I wish to reach.
Gayatri Ben?
My personality is in the way of my part and my presence. And I have to remove the illusions of my personality to return to my spiritual presence and my original and eternal part.
So for everyone, this is a thought to take with you and look at the personality and see how it fits in the masterpiece we want to see in us. So I know I could go on for another hour chit-chatting, but I know two of you have already other commitments. So what I felt would be useful, and again, I may be just this kind of hard nut to crack in a way, but to bring it back again to something very practical, I wanted to suggest that you all take us through a 5-minute exercise that will help us to process this notion of understanding, experiencing a virtue or a value, which is still unclear to me what's the difference. So Gayatri will have to tell us at some point. And you process that and become it. So maybe I know Yogesh, you're the first one who has to be in another room, Zoom, Bloom. So you want to start with challenging us into a little process for 5 minutes and let us know what do you want us to do?
Okay, can I share screen?
Yeah, maybe. Not scream, just screen. Don't share a screen.
So
My French ears hear all kind of things that are not what you're saying. So yes, you can try to share something.
Okay, I'll just show a couple of slides and then I'll speak through what I mean. So let's find it. Yeah, so this is something which has been very useful for me in terms of, as I mentioned, growing and applying those values in life. Just to introduce, I won't go into details. So we're surrounded by events. We can't do much about those. But what's happening all the time is I'm giving meaning to those events. And it happens very, very, very quickly in a nanosecond. We ascribe meaning to events, situations, people's words, people's facial expressions, everything. And just as quickly, the way I feel is generated. So event meaning emotion is the sequence. The illusion is we think the event creates the emotion. And that's when we don't grow. So to grow, I need to let go of controlling an event and instead take ownership of the meaning and upgrade the meaning that I am giving to the event. And well, how do you do that? Three things comprise the meaning that we give to the event. And I'll just touch on one of them, and that's our perspective. And so this is where I think, for me, I've been using this idea. I can upgrade my perspective towards any event. That's in my hands. I cannot change or control the event, but I can continue to upgrade my perspective of it. And when that happens, then the whole life changes. See here, I may be seeing someone or something as a problem, and it may cause some anxiety, some tension, some worry. But if I upgrade my perspective, now I'm seeing it as an obstacle. And I'm asking myself, how can I get over this? I'm not focusing on the thing or the person, but I'm asking myself, and this is where the values come in. Which value do I need at this moment? Maybe it's patience. Maybe I need to practice forgiveness here. Maybe I'm in need of, letting go of something. And that's where the actual, the rubber meets the road, identifying the value I need in a particular situation in order to overcome that obstacle. And once I've done that, then I begin to see the same situation now as an opportunity to practice, to apply what I'm learning in terms of that value. And then furthermore, the same thing now, the same person I see as a test. Yeah, and tests are there for me to be able to see how far have I reached in making this value reality. And as I continue to do that, then eventually the same thing I see as a gift, and I look back and say, wow, what I used to see as a problem, it was such a gift for me. I learned so much, I grew so much, I was able to evolve through that. So this is a little method I have used to shift my perspective, not just so that the situation doesn't bother me, but actually to use it so I can grow. And if that situation had not come, I would not have grown. So, just to finish off, as we say in the spiritual life, everything is beneficial. I just have to look for the benefit, and it's all connected with my personal evolution as a person, as a being.
Thank you. And this is very enlightening, and I like it. Very good to think about that way, changing the way we interpret or process the event. Thank you so much. Yeah. Are you still playing tennis, Yogesh?
Now and then, but I should
You have to come to Montreal. You come to Montreal, and you'll see we'll churn and play tennis together. Promise.
And game, set, and match to you, I'm sure, monsieur.
I don't play matches. I just enjoy exchanging, sharing. Thank you so much, Yogesh. I know you will have to leave in a few minutes, so we won't take it personal if you just disconnect at some point. Thank you very much
I'll say my goodbyes now, actually, because I need to withdraw now.
I know.
Yeah, thanks, Sister Gopi, Sister Gayatri, Eric, everyone. All the best.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thanks. Lovely to be in your room with you in Zoom. So we felt we were in your place. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Gayatri, I think you're next also to have to go and attend. These people are just flying angels from one spot to another. And so before you disappear, it was very lovely little exercise. So before you take us into whatever you want us to take us through, do you want to share briefly what difference you make between value and virtue? Oops, your mic has been switched off.
Yeah, that's all right. I think virtue is intrinsic in the soul, and values are systemic. So for instance, you would say justice is a value, but love is intrinsic. So love doesn't come from justice. Justice comes from love. And so that's the distinction I'd like to make, that when we talk about, which I'm going to do a reflection on honesty. Honesty isn't intrinsic in the soul. Truth is. So for me to be honest, I need to be truthful. I need to have the virtue of truth. So I feel that these are distinctions we need to make when we're talking about values that are systemic, that are within the ethics, that are within the principles, that are within the codes that we have to follow. They're values-based, but virtues are intrinsic. And so I have to take those values and connect them to what is intrinsic in the soul, what gives, what powers those values, what virtues within the soul would power those values. And of course, the virtues in the soul, they work together. They're cohesive. One doesn't work without the other. And so that's it for now, just a kind of a taster. And of course, that you could go very deep into it as well.
Wow, that's called an arrow, hitting the target. It's very enlightening. I know we're in public, but in secret, just no one, it's only 3 of us now. So one thing I really, really appreciate in these kind of thoughts and the way you phrase them or articulate them so assertively, I feel sometimes I'm in front of kind of an element I want to eat, like a nut, but I don't know how to break it and I cannot taste what's inside. And what you just did to me is breaking up something that I've always seen as, wow, this is great. I'm sure it tastes very nice. I'm sure it must be wonderful. So I collect those and I have plenty of those, but I can't eat them because I don't know how to open them or how to transform them so I can eat what's inside. And I can look at an orange. If I bite the orange, it's going to be very unpleasant. I need to peel it. So it's easy. But some food items are more difficult to eat because you need to do something with it. And what you just did to me is exactly that. So thank you for the hymn. How it's in English, the hymn, the song, the Gayatri mantra that finally broke a nut in my head.
The hymn, not the hymn.
I can hear the cracking nuts in my brain, allowing the juicy fruit coming out. So thank you. Really appreciate that. It's true. I've never thought of it. So I'm glad it's recorded. I'm going to listen to it again and write it down. Systemic and intrinsic. I'll translate it into French as well. Now, Gopi, you have something to follow now. But I'm sure you're expert in taking people into, practical experiential moments. So what will be your thoughts on what would you make us do to continue on that?
So Eric, am I going to do my 5 minutes first or we'll go?
Oh, I thought that was it. I thought you did.
Okay, I can stay there. You don't have to go any further with me. That's fine. But
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
me.
thinking, was that her 5 minutes or is she going to do more?
No, that was my 5 minutes. That's fine.
No, go ahead.
You spoke
Finish off.
4 minutes and you already transformed my head into, change it from...
No. Then let's leave it at that. Let's leave it.
No,
at
You
that.
did your
no.
nutcracker.
Mr. Gayatri,
You did
finish
your
off with the
nutcracker.
experience.
This is Eric. He asked me a question and he took away my reflection.
Okay,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
I was in...
that's fine.
No, you got to
That's
finish
fine.
this. Go ahead.
We have,
No, I
we have a few
did.
minutes. I want to know. I want to know. what
I'm
else.
waiting for more.
We want to know. Yeah.
Yeah, go
It's
on.
me. I was so excited. So keep going. Yeah.
No, maybe I'll just say what I did, and I think I wanted to share it because Manoj Bhai, you invited me to come and talk about honesty one week, and the week before it was Ken talking on the same subject. And so when I came in before talking on honesty, I said, I cannot just speak about honesty just like that. I do need to leave with a practice of honesty. And so in preparing for that talk on honesty, I realized that I had to have some courageous conversations with myself. And I realized also how my mind is my biggest liar. My mind lies to me so much. And I had to accept that I have a lying mind. It's always making excuses. It's always interpreting things to suit my selfish desires. It's always judging others, all of those things I discover about the mind. And so I just wanted to share with you the homework I took away from talking to you on honesty. And I think I gave you the homework as well, to go and have courageous conversations with yourself every night before you sleep, every day, every time you find yourself making an excuse or making up a reason or doing something that is dishonest and it's not connected to the truth within you, then you need to keep checking it. So just let me, in maybe 3 minutes, share with you the what I did and I'm still doing, and I found it very helpful. I felt that honesty is a bedrock virtue. It is not a surface virtue. So to be really honest, you need to be a scuba diver, not a surfer. Right? Scuba diver means you have to go to the bottom to look at what's intrinsic in the soul. So if truth is intrinsic in the soul, then honesty will have to go to that bedrock when I'm looking at myself. So this is what I did every day, especially when there are issues that came up in my life, when I have to face a problem or a challenging situation. Every night, what I would do, and this is the experiment, and I will share it with you in such a way that perhaps you could also reflect with me. So when there is a problem that comes up, I would think about the problem or the challenging situation that kept bugging me. And then I would sit silently and I would say it out to myself, but in silence, or I would write it as a sentence. And then I would become an observer to what is bugging me, what is it that's troubling me. But then I will also look at what feelings is this emerging within me. And I would look at it as though I'm looking at myself as I would look at a movie, as a scene in a movie. And then I would just let it go for a minute and I would breathe. I would breathe in and I would breathe out. I would see myself because, as I said, the intrinsic virtue to the value of honesty is truth. But the intrinsic virtue to the value of honesty is also love. And I found that the reason my mind was lying so much or making excuses, when I say lying, making excuses, those little white lies, it's because maybe I was lacking self-love. So then I looked at myself as a being of love. And I connected to Baba, the ocean of love. And I gave love to myself, but I also gave love to what was troubling me. And then I thought of the sentence, how deep is your love? So I asked myself the question, how deep is my love? Is this my deepest love? Is this my or I would write it down. What is that deepest truth that comes out of the love in my heart? And then I would practice it again, breathe in and breathe out. And I would see myself again as a being of love. I would connect to Baba. I would give love to myself. I would give love to what is troubling me. And again, I would go deeper into myself. And I would do this again and again until I come to a point in which I would have gone very deep inside myself. I would have gone into the deepest part of my heart. And I keep writing it down and I keep saying it to myself. And then when I emerge, I would do an action. The action that I would do is before I could correct whatever this mind tricked me into doing, or tricked me into thinking, or tricked me into feeling, I first of all would have to radiate the love that came from my heart to the person, to the situation, to the circumstances, whatever it may be. And then I would consciously allow whatever I was going to speak, whatever I was going to offer, to come from that deep love in my heart. And I found that this practice, what it did was that it allowed me that truth, that love that emerged with the truth, allowed me to become more and more honest with myself. So I would nip that excuse. I would nip something that would come into my mind as a thought that would be just with shadows, just with little things of excuses or reasons, but wasn't connected to my innate truth or my innate love. And I found that that really, really required for me a conversation with myself in which I had to be courageous enough to accept the defects within me that were very, very subtle, but to accept those defects with love, knowing that I can change them when I look into the truth of that exists within me. And that's not a truth of Gyan. It's a truth of who I am as a being. And it's not just love based on Gyan, but it's the love that remained with me after the imbibing of the Gyan. So I saw it as different, as a difference between just looking at it through the lens of the Murli and looking at it through the lens of what was intrinsic inside of me. So I wanted to share that with you. And thank you for giving me the time.
No, not at all. I know we have to thank you. I feel this is my first Christmas gift I just received today. So thank you. It's lovely. And no, very, very, very. Yeah, that's what I was, saying with Yogesh, and I'm sure good people do the same, but these are practical steps. And I think we need to, yes, understand and reflect, but also when we come to doing it, I think this is a lovely, lovely process. And personally, I know I'll be re-listening to the conversation and taking notes, and I'll try it. And I really, I feel I have a lot of food, to play with at the moment. So thank you. No, it's beautiful. Really, really love what you shared.
I too, Ben, I could almost feel like the neurons changing as you're speaking. It's like an unraveling and a kind of settling and a softening, and it's a beautiful process. It really is.
But I'll tell you the manifestation of the process that woke me up, and that's why I chose it. Eric and I were at Peace Village this last weekend, and we were at the table, and our dinner was pizza. So I didn't like the pizza, so they had to make another one for me because I like my pizza in a certain way. So the sister decided she was going to do whatever I wanted and bring it. So she brought it on the table, and Eric shared a joke. And I had never in my whole life, I think Julia told me it was the time we were at Peace Village, Eric, that you made me roll on the floor with laughter. And I started laughing, and I've never laughed so long and so hard, so loud then, and so long. I cannot remember doing that. And I laughed and laughed and laughed. And after Dorothy came up and said, "You were so raucous. You were so loud. You were the loudest in the room." And others said to me, "That was such a therapy." But it was as if, when you do a practice over a period of time, there comes a release, and you don't know in what form that release would take. Yeah. And mine was laughter. And so it was as if I kind of came out a tunnel and I was in the light of laughter, and Eric made me laugh so much. And if you ask me to joke now, I don't think I could remember it accurately, but it was so much of like something just processing itself out. So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
Mm.
Well, you were in sure, Gachi. I'm not going to tell that joke right now because it will break the whole concept of this.
And also my
process.
pizza was left uneaten because I laughed so much.
And I felt bad about having that pizza left on the plate unaided. Well, thank you, Gachi. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you have to leave. I know you have to leave in 2 minutes. So, thank you so much. It was really insightful, and it brought a lot on the table, I think. So I'm sure everyone will. I'm seeing a few comments on the chat, but it's going to be very, very useful. So thank you so much. And promise next time I come, I'll have you eat the pizza first, and then we'll go for the joke after the pizza.
Okay, I'll just stay on a little bit, in 2 minutes, to hear Gopi start, and then I'll just come off. When you don't see me anymore, I'm off. But I'd like to hear what she has to say, at least at the beginning.
Yeah. We all want to hear. So Gopi, what do you have in mind? What do you want us to go through or think about? I'm sure you figure out something.
Actually, the sentence in the Murli today, when Baba said, you have rejected me out of your ignorance. And this is connected very much to the theme that I've been practicing very recently, because I'm a bit of a lazy effort maker in one sense. And I'm trying to work out what is the easiest effort to make that will bring the maximum benefit. And when I talk about the maximum benefit for me, it means increase my capacity to become loving, as well as increase my ability to be lightly and nimbly mobile in everything I do. So there's solutions and constructiveness. And very deeply for me, the game has been in 2 words, limited and unlimited, in the sense of my feelings. And so I've been experiencing and experimenting with the ladder of taking my feelings from limited to unlimited. And what does that mean? And for me, very much the practice has been deeply connected to the bridge of silence, the ladder of silence, and creating that ladder, because I don't know if you're aware of this particular idea in Japan called Kaizen, the 1 minute, mastering the 1 minute. And that's what it's about. Kaizen means continuous improvement. And it all starts with the 1 minute of any particular practice, whether it's a practice of a virtue, going into something, whether it's a physical practice, a food practice, whatever it is, but you've got to master that 1 minute. And in that 1 minute, what my personal practice has been very much to begin from a place of mental and physical calm, bringing the body to a complete state of rest, where the vibrations are no longer, the mind is completely calm. And then from that point, being pulled into one of those intrinsic qualities inside and starting to experience the sweetness of that quality inside. And so it could be just holding in my awareness that I am a being of peace. And I just let that take its form and flavor inside. And then after some time, what I've experienced from the sweetness of that silence is actually then just merging into a seed, and a very powerful detached silence, where there's a real sense of, it's not dead as in dead, but it's deeply detached. And that's been happening quicker and quicker. And that's been my aim, is to master that in 1 minute. Because I feel that in that 1 minute, as I flick the switch, the feeling, the gross feeling, goes from gross, subtle, silent. And suddenly I feel by the end of it, I'm like this open vessel that Baba can just pour into. And in that moment, I don't have to think anything or say anything. Things start to happen. I've seen that practically. And it's almost like that being in the space of unlimited feelings starts to create space for souls around me to do what they have to do and be what they have to be. And there's no interference on my part for thinking for them or thinking about them. And I feel like this mastery, from physical silence to subtle silence to deeply incorporeal silence, is the ladder of silence that I'm aiming to master in 1 minute. And then I feel that will be the switch that enables me to pass the paper at the end. Because silence does so many, many things. It illuminates light. It illuminates the defect. It illuminates, it lets you see. And yet at the same time, in the silence as you sit with Baba, there's a lot of drishti in that silence. And that drishti lands on what you see and helps it to move on. And so silence, it's amazing how many things just work themselves out in silence. And I feel that that's a very important aspect of my personal practice at this time. Because, you know, the javelin of your thoughts, and I've had a lot of them. I've thought through many, many things and processes. And I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of young people over 27 years. And if, you know, they don't understand something, they can't practice it. And at the end of the day, building the capacity to love is the practice of being able to quickly transform my feelings from limited to unlimited, fast. And that test paper is of a second at the end. And so I feel very much now it's becoming so much more simpler and almost like a child. You know, when a child is born, we have this memory in this life of being born in a state of full trust. And we know that we're going to be loved. The baby's not born with a doubt in its head. And I feel like silence helps me return to that space. And it just lets me, if you like, reconnect with the fabric of everything again. There's things that are bigger than me, and I'm part of a dynamic that's bigger than me, and I'm resting comfortably in the net of the benevolence of the drama and of God's lap. And I feel when that happens, humility is a very natural part of the process because you're a learner and you don't take on anything. You don't take on your past. You don't take on your problems. You don't take on other people. You just stop thinking about things or trying to figure something out. And from that place of rest and trust, you then start to see what Baba is seeing and what God is seeing and how God is using you in his unlimited task. This was very much inspired for me by watching Daddy Janki. I've had the fortune of being in Madhuban for a long time, being in the heat of dynamics, but also watching a phase and watching Madhuban's impact, but then especially keeping an eye on Daddy and seeing that, especially in the last 2 years before Daddy departed, Daddy's intellect was completely surrendered. You know, that for me was often how does she do that? Like, you know, they'd pick her up in a wheelchair, take her to the top of a mountain, put her there, she wouldn't have any thoughts. She'd just let them do what they did. And I feel that was a clue for me, that silence, accumulating silence, was the way in which surrender would happen naturally. It's not going to happen by keep running with the pole of thoughts. At some point, you got to let the pole hit the ground and catapult yourself and let go of the pole to get to the other side. And so that was really the bridge and the ladder of silence for me. Physical silence, and it does mean honesty. Physical silence doesn't come without honesty at every level. honesty with my food, honesty with exercise, honesty with my sleep, honesty with my thought processes on something. And when there's a deep level of honesty, your physics rest, silence rests, your physicality just rests. There's nothing interrupting it. So I think what Gayatri was offering us was a beautiful inroad into deep honesty that opens the door to allowing every part of my internal faculties to become silent.
Well, she offered the bedrock value, as she calls it, and you offered a beautiful nest to keep it warm and permanent. So yeah, I find it's very beautiful the way you're phrasing this experience of multifaceted silence. And I like the minute thing and the lazy way to achieve the best. I'm very much in the same process, but I like the fact that sometimes we're told that whatever we do should take only a second. I'll try the minute. I think it's giving us a little bit more chance to achieve everything. I think it's a beautiful way, Gopi, to have that feeling of silence, the way you shared it, to take us into the next closing remarks. And I know there's been a beautiful video prepared for today, which will capture, I think, a lot of thoughts. Some thoughts are actually from you in that video too. So I don't know if you have to run away, Gopi, or you stay with us for a few more minutes.
No, it's the only place I have to go now to bed, so I can extend a few more minutes because it's almost 10
I know in India, that's why we'll be a little bit conscious of time because many are listening or watching in India and it's almost 10 o'clock over there. So to tuck you into bed in a beautiful way, I think you did it already, Gopi, in a very, very lovely style. And well, thank you again. It was a beautiful idea. I think that you generated also the thought that we should really have a little chit chat, the four of us, and it was beautiful. So thank you. And so let's return the mic and the Zoom room into our dear brother Manoj.
Eric, thank you.
Yeah.
You are a real sweetheart. You're so sweet. You've got such a wonderful ability to build bridges between people. And, your sweetness just kind of is a bit like a magnet that just draws everyone to you, endears everyone to you.
Wow.
So thank
you. You are reading my mind because I was going to close by saying, we all know about spiritual teas, honesty and beauty. But I thought my line, which I forgot, which you reminded me, is I wanted to close by saying this was really being like with sweeties. It is sweetie. They compliment someone. Oh, you're a sweetie. This is sweet tea. This is sweeties. We're all sweeties. So thank you for emerging that sweetness again. Gopi, lovely to be with you in the Zoom. Hopefully we'll be in the same room very soon. So thank you. And Manoj Bhai, and I know you have a way to also bring us into beautiful moment with Dr. Ashok Mehta. I know you've been with us all the time. Well, I've been with you, actually. You are the driver, and I'm just a passenger here. So, Brother Ashok Mehta, you want to share a few thoughts?
I think it has been a wonderful journey throughout the year that we have taken through a long list of values, almost 27 of them in last 1 year. I think a lot of work done by Manoj Bhai, Anu Bain, Nikhil Bhai, sister, and the team of people. So I think they have provided a beautiful platform to the finest speakers in the Brahma Kumaris that we have from all the continents, from the US, UK, Europe, Paris, and of course, our own country. Especially we have had the opportunity of listening to Brij Mohan Bhai, Shivani Bahan, Asha Bahan, Shilu Bahan, Usha Bahan, and a host of others. I think this is a beautiful platform that's been created thanks to the effort of this excellent team. And this year probably we'll have more values, but I think the essence of this program is the valuing the self. As a matter of fact, I thought that we started working on Vyasa, Values in Healthcare, a spiritual approach, which was a program of Janki Foundation of UK for the last 20 years, and out of which we grew into the values. There we were only 7 or 8 values that we had, but I think the most important was peace and positivity, and of course the most important, I think, was the valuing the self. This is where it's probably the appreciating our own self, appreciating the inner self. And this is possibly a good journey, is a journey within to appreciate our own self, valuing ourselves. And we are the unique. I don't think there's anybody else as good as we are. The Baba has given us that beautiful vision, appreciating that we are the Shrestha Atmas. I think this, with sharing with number of people, more than 150 people on today's program, and then of course hundreds of people watching this program on the video, take a great contribution in terms of propagating our concept of the values. And one of the things I would like to share with you is we were taught as a medical student what the mind knows, the eye sees. In other words, you must have a belief system. You must know exactly what you're looking for. Then only you'll be able to see. Therefore, our Baba's knowledge has given us that insight and has changed our belief system to the real system in which we can appreciate our own self and our own values. I think this is an excellent program that's going on, and thank the entire team. And thank Eric Bai, Gopi Ben, and Sister Gayatri Ben, and Yogesh Bai for spending for really creating a coffee table discussion. Thank you very much once again.
Well, thank you to you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Ashok Mehta. I know you've been, a mentor, and we need, when we take a journey like this, we need lighthouses, to keep guiding us. And I know you've been supporting this project, and you're right. It started by looking at the medical field. That's why we call the doctors. But I think you saw so many patients coming in that you thought, how are we going to look after all these patients? And that's how he grew into this Values for Life series. So congratulations to you for initiating also in a way of being there, with the program from the beginning. So it's really, really appreciated. And for us, we always look for the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom comes in just a few words, which you just demonstrated to us. So wisdom comes, we play with knowledge, but you embody really the power of wisdom. So we appreciate your presence. It brings more light to the whole program. Thank you to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Ashok Bhai. You're like this wonderful dada for the Vyasa program.
Yes, we have. We need dada.
Yeah, really.
This is a very enjoyable time every fortnight and every week, the program that we have. I think this gives a good feeling of being in company with beautiful people.
Yes.
Across the world.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And I know Manoj Bhai would want us to watch a beautiful little video that will really highlight the best moments or some of the moments of the whole year. So I give it back to you, Manoj. And thank you again, Ashok Mehta Bhai, and then Gopi. And yes, sweet night in India. Dreams well.
Okay, thank you so much immensely. We have for all of you, immense gratitude. And we shall make sure that we will be working on our attitude. And inspired by all of your mini talk, let's also now take this walk and try to walk the talk. So immensely thankful once again to all of you, and because it's really very late for us here as well, we are already approaching 10 p.m. So I would request Anu sister to play the video. It's already on here. So thank you.
But who I am is to do with me, the being inside. And that's where the work is needed.
Innocence is the original nature of the soul. And I think when you say purity, you really mean innocence. And so what is innocence? You know, it is uncorrupted.
In essence, farsightedness is tapping into the power of your pure intuition. And when you apply pure intuition in everything you choose to do, you will find that the path will be easy.
So one of our first practice to be able to tap into those powers is to slow down our thinking. How much can I slow down my thinking? One thought at a time.
And so when I'm able to create that friendship between these both, where they are together constantly, then automatically the mind and intellect being together, we enjoy the concentration. We enjoy that focus. We enjoy just being here.
Imagine when you do Tai Chi, you're exercising the highest grace of self-control. And that's what being disciplined is. It's when I'm developing all my faculties to the highest order. And that's when discipline becomes an art form.
So accept everyone as they are. Keep giving unexpected love, and then accept them as they are. Love them from your heart.
And so honesty for me means to care deeply about trust. Honesty for me means valuing the importance of integrity. And honesty for me means being transparent in my relationships.
That when you believe in someone, they rise to that. And that's the biggest gift you can give anybody, is to believe in them.
Detachment means to really go with the flow. Allow things to happen naturally.
Patience with the self is acceptance. Patience with others is love. And patience with God is basically having faith in every scene of life.
Gratitude teaches us that within every situation that comes in front of me, there is an opportunity to learn and to grow. As some point out, don't just go through life, but grow through life. And what makes the difference between these two is how you are choosing to see situations.
So thank you so much, Anu sister, for the video. Thank you so much, Gopi sister, for hanging around. I know it's a bit late for you. I'll just quickly do a few announcements if I can. Yeah, and I'll just share the screen. Yeah, I can do that now. Yeah, so as all of you know, 1 year journey successfully completed. We are giving you more goodies for tomorrow Tomorrow we have with us our very senior sister from Brazil, Sister Luciana. We'll be doing the workshop on generosity. So as all of you know, the first hour is the experiential exercises with a lot of reflection and meditation. And the second hour is the sister's talk, followed by meditation. The timings are slightly different, as you all know, to accommodate the West Coast timings of US and Canada. So it's 7:45 to 9:45 India time. So it's tomorrow. You don't need to miss it. And coming further in the series is our senior Vedanti Didi, a very wonderful, lovely Didi from Africa. She's actually the regional coordinator for there. And 11 December, the next weekend, she'll be speaking on appreciation. And again, the workshop will be with Sister Moira from Argentina. So as Dr. Mehta was saying, we have all these beautiful people all over the globe from different parts of the world and sharing their insightful wisdom on the particular value, and also in the form of workshop as well. And these are our quick contact emails, websites, and please feel free to provide us feedback or your comments so as to improvise on the program. So with this, I'll just stop sharing, and I'll just move on to our dear Sister Claudia, who's waiting avidly for the last closing meditation or drishti. Sister Claudia, are you? Yeah, thank you.
If love were a bird, I would stroke her bright feathers. Then I'd watch her fly free, cross the still of the dawn. And if peace were a mountain, we'd gather around her to bathe in her silence, her power, her call. If wisdom could sing or whisper his secrets, eternally teaching the ways of the free. In my mind I can see them, I hear them, and I feel them. For love, peace, and wisdom are all part of me. If love has her freedom and peace her expression, surely wisdom will grow like a flower in bloom. The seed has been planted and tended and watered, by the prayers of the hopeful and the tears of the brave. We long to return to that place of still waters and sit on the banks under some shady tree. In my mind, I can see it, I hear it, and I feel it. And love, peace, and wisdom are all that we need. Some call me a dreamer, some will call me a seeker, one who follows the stars on a quest for the truth. But every believer holds a deep hidden memory of a time when the earth was a flower in bloom. We long to return to that place of still waters and sit on the banks under some shady tree. In my mind, I can see it, I hear it, and I believe it. And love, peace, and wisdom are the three golden keys.
Okay, so before we leave, let me take this opportunity to immensely thank the entire technical team of Vancouver, who's just been working tirelessly in the background. So we must just say a quick ek haath ki tali, as we say, clapping with one hand for them. And secondly, let us not forget the program is made truly international by the interpreters and the translators, who also bear with all our fast talk which we do all the time. So thank you all the interpreters and translators as well. So thank you once again. And this journey would not have been possible without you all, the technical team and the translators. So immensely thanks to all of you all. Thank you. Om Shanti.